Hey, I wanted to say that the boards are lighting up with questions and comments coming in that I want to get to, but I do want to thank Thomas and Candace in particular for coming forward. I know we'll have to have you not be participants to bring others up, but my heart is with you, and I'm so grateful for your courage and clarity and commitment, and for your joining us on this today. So,
well, thank you for that. I did want to say one thing. You know, there were, and I'm sure Candace can speak about it more, but you know, my brother really believed that we could cure major diseases like cancer and all the rest, diabetes and all those, and a lot of it has to do with managing the production of nagalase in your body. Yeah. And you know, I think that is just a huge thing, that when it comes to the battle of cancer, that's kind of like the secret. You know, you finally found the secret to why people aren't getting better and why we're getting worse. And unfortunately, its tentacles run all the way out through all that stuff. But I think that's the major reason why holistic doctors are being killed, because with the accessibility of information, though they don't have to be intimately involved with someone or work in the same building, like-minded doctors can share information very quickly and start to see the problems. You know, and I think Jeff was at that point. I believe nagalase was the big bad guy, and he found a way to win that battle of balance between the macrophage and nagalase. And I think that was one of the major reasons why he was on someone's list, and I think Gonzalez was the same way.
I agree with you, Tom. And in fact, while you brought that up, I know one of the questions that I saw in our Q&A window was one of the people on the call heard Aaron say that that the GICMAF was no longer legal in the U.S. And I know this would be an issue very near and dear to her heart. So is it that it's difficult to get, or is it that it's actually illegal? Aaron, do you know that, or Tom?
I'll defer to the Bradstreets because they have been. I mean, I think I know, but I know they know for sure. So I'll defer. I'll let Tom answer that.
Well, to our knowledge, I mean, I've spoken to people that you can still purchase it in other countries and have it shipped directly to your house. But we are seeing an increase in talk about a lot of the companies being raided and having issues. So I don't know how much longer that will be, but you can still purchase it.
Right. I can for myself, I can go online, I can pay, you know, the $400 or $500, whatever that is, and I can get it shipped directly to me. I just can't have a doctor give it to me. At least that's our understanding of it from our attorney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think from Japan, it also is one of them. Still, we can get it from there. For people I know doing that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we've heard that it also is sometimes getting stopped at the border, but so far has usually continued through to the patient, hopefully before the actual live compound dies.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I did want to briefly say, we talked earlier about my brother's office being raided, and that's such a powerful word. You know, when you hear that word raid, it's like you picture a crack house that guys are loaded up in SWAT uniforms and they're busting through the doors because they're these champions of righteousness. Well, that really wasn't the case. You know, yes, there were a lot of agents that came in. There was no forced entry. It was all on the up and up. It was a very simple process where they came in and looked at his office. But as Aaron stated earlier, he wasn't arrested. There was no problems with anything. It was just harassment.
Well, and the search warrant was specific for GCMEF.
Right, I read that, yes.
You know, it just makes him look guilty. You know, it's one of the things that we found during this investigation. The preconceived concepts or the socialized way of thinking just sets this course for people to go down that they're just so unwilling to think differently. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, well, we're very aware of a man named Dr. Sam Chachua that many of you probably saw recently on the Bill Maher show, and we know his story quite well, and we've met many people who have been cured by him of things ranging from cancer to HIV to chronic fatigue and drug addiction and other things. And Kimberly, do you want to real quick recount his story, because it's just an example of what Tom and Candace are talking about, that these stories can start in seemingly kind of unassuming, official ways, but the motive behind it can be very nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get into hearing from other people more too, but I'll just say, I think what you just said, Tom, is really it, where things are painted in a way that they meet people in some trained way that they're willing then to just abandon their own critical thinking.
Correct.
And head down some path like, oh yeah, this guy must be a quack or something. And in the case of Dr. Sam, I know, his father died when young, and when Sam was young, and he was really motivated to find a cure for cancer. He had his first published medical paper when he was 19, became a doctor, an oncologist, a cardiologist,
and an immunologist.
Went to school in China, his degree, in Australia, Mexico, the UK, he's been licensed to practice in various countries, but not in America. Anyway, he was having great success with serums that he developed in treating cancer and HIV, and Cedars-Sinai reached out to him and offered to do some testing of his protocols that he had, and soon into it, the serums were stolen and supposedly destroyed, and they said they didn't know anything about him. And he had a lawsuit which for slander and for stealing his serums, which in fact he won unanimously with the jury 20 years ago. But and he won it by having a guy with HIV on the stand, who they did the blood test, showed that he had active AIDS, did an injection of Dr. Sam's, and the next day did the blood test, and he was cured. It's an instant thing, and I've seen it. I have felt cancerous tumors disappear under my hand with Sam's injections. I've seen personally miraculous healing. But anyway, he, during the appeal, there was a car bomb. He was blown up, seriously injured in every respect, injured physically badly with shrapnel in his organs and his face. And also, I think the nervous system...
He's still alive, just to clarify. He was subjected to an explosion, but his dog basically pulled him away and saved him. So he is still alive, but still being harassed.
Yeah, still being harassed in really big ways. And you can see a lot of them as to just make him look so bad that people forget. It's like, I mean, he has a really quirky personality and all that, tells offensive jokes, all kinds of things. But does he also have a remarkable cure and an entirely new way of dealing with DNA repair and a different way of seeing illness and healing and of empowering individuals? I mean, he's got stuff where through blood transfusions, cures can be passed from one to another, speaking of obsoleting a pharmaceutical industry. So, it's this critical thinking that says, do I have to like every single thing about each person who's bringing forward one of these new innovations? Or do I need to keep my eye on the ball here and see what is it that they're doing? And in fact, toward that end, my own personal passion and where we're going to be going, and I can bring this up because we're actually shifting focus a little bit, because our experience with so many healers and innovators in every field inspired us to create what we called Thrive Connect, which we've spoken of loosely in the last few years, where we just, it was such a unique position that we set out and did some initial vetting of some of these new technologies and innovations that came in the field of agriculture and healing and new technology, energy technologies. And we identified the ones that really looked to be the most promising, and that if unleashed together could really provide the kind of synergy and solutions that we see with the synergy and problems, right? And so one of the things that we recognize is that these projects need a lot more than money. They really need infrastructure, they need security, they need business management skills, they need manufacturing and distributing, and just a whole infrastructure in addition that would make the money going into them a really good investment, whether it's a donation or an investment. It makes it solid because you can see how it will really come to fruition. And so our next Thrive Together event is actually going to be our final one for a while, because we're going to be turning our attention. I'm going to be full on into really focusing on these strategies for fulfillment and how to design the systems that take into account all of the obstacles that we're so aware of and that we're describing today, to develop really safe, comprehensive strategies to move things forward and out in a comprehensive and effective way. So our next event is going to be March 13th, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing to the extent that we're talking about that. It's when we made Thrive, we couldn't have been so in the public. We really needed to focus and do all kinds of things. And it's really like that now. We need some time to focus in and do this. And Foster's been working on a book on the side this whole time, and he's finally going to focus on working on that also. So we'll talk more about that, and also what it's like in these times to keep the heartfelt connections with our loved ones while we disagree so much and see the world through such different lens. So that's going to be on March 13th. I just wanted to mention it because it's related to all of this, about what are some of the things that we can do. And for me, the best use of me in these times is to apply my strategic systems thinking to how to really empower these solutions in a way that I'm confident we can get them out there safely and timely. So
great. Well, the time that we have remaining, let's bring on some of those questions that have been coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, first we were going to bring up Heather. And again, thanks, Tom and Candace, so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom and Candace. Yes.
So, Heather, your microphone is off. Did you want to answer or ask your question? And would you like to have your camera enabled?
No.
Okay. Great. Go ahead.
Oh, Derek, answer my question. Can I try it back? Okay, bye.
Heather, are you with us?
I'm here. Where are you?
Go ahead. Go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, God.
Heather, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Hi there. Welcome.
Peace and happiness. Hi. Yeah, I'm just wondering, in the scheme of things, as we're moving forward with the existing dynamic of our government, and their effect that it might have on health and prosperity for us, what do you think about the single payer system and the government having that much control over our health care?
Good question. Let's hear from our doctor first.
Well, I'm not a big fan of government intervention in most areas of life. So, of course, some cases probably necessary, like defense. But when it comes to healthcare, I feel for the people who don't have resources to afford basics healthcare like many other countries do. But unfortunately, when you provide that resource from the government, what you're doing is essentially subsidizing and promoting and supporting the conventional medical system, which we know has been carefully manipulated by over a century ago by the Rockefellers and the Carnegie Foundation and these large corporations. So you're essentially supporting the pharmaceutical model. And that nutritional interventions and simple lifestyle changes are essentially excluded. They're not taught in medical school, so these simple, radical, profoundly effective interventions are just ignored. So I'm not a big fan of the government.
Yeah, well, hopefully the holistic aspects would move into that whole thing where, I mean, everybody has whatever kind of health care that they need and that there's no one who goes without.
It's an important goal, no question. Unfortunately, the system is so twisted and warped, it just seems to me virtually impossible to achieve in its current format.
I think so too. I'm going to move forward because we have 10 minutes left and we have so many people lined.
I have to say, I agree totally with Joe. The worst thing we could do for health care is to put 100% of it in the care of the government, who's working for the corporations, who's working for the bankers.
Yeah, can I just also comment? It was one of the question and answers in the chat session about the Strength Finders, and that was in fact the Gallup Strength Finders 2.0 by the Gallup Foundation. So that's the correct one.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next was Sky. Sky, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I'm wondering, I'm a very good organizer and a good administrator and a good bodyguard. Is there a website where people can volunteer to do these things for other people? Like there's an organization called Bikers Against Child Abuse, where bikers will go out and protect the children, teach them how to protect themselves, and therefore empower them. It seems to me like we need something like that to help protect and work with our healers and inventors and such.